Hello, Elly here from Thankful Flow Yoga. Thank you so much for joining me for this YouTube practice. Today we are doing an all levels stretchy hips flow. So I know that it's very common for a lot of us to store kind of tightness or tension in the hips, the lower back, the backs of the legs. So this flow is going to be about stretching into those areas today as we move through some balance and some strengthening and mind-body connection as well. So we're going to start the class in a comfortable seated position. That could be cross-legged, or you could have your legs out in front. Just take whatever feels right for you. And we're going to bring one hand to the heart, one hand to the belly, and start to close your eyes or just take the gaze out in front. And we'll take our equal breath to come into the practice. So breathing in for 6, breathing out for 6. So I'll count as we move through, but if the breath doesn't feel right for you at any time, just come back to your natural breathing. So inhaling for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Exhaling for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhaling for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Exhaling for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhaling for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Exhaling for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhaling for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Exhaling for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhaling for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Exhaling for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Coming back to your natural breathing now. And this breath technique, this equal breath, is a really good way to just bring the brain waves into a meditative state, to connect to the calming parasympathetic part of the nervous system. So now we'll start to open the eyes if you had them closed, and release the hands. And we're going to come and take the soles of the feet together to get started, opening the knees out to the side in this bound angle position. If you need blocks here, you could always have some blocks under the thighs to support you, or you could bring the feet further away than the body and create more of a diamond shape with the legs. So inhale, reach the crown of your head to the ceiling. Exhale, take a little fold forwards, lead with the chest, so keeping the spine long. And moving here with your breath. On your inhale, you're going to lift the chest and make space. Exhale, float into the fold. Inhale, lift the chest. Exhale, folding. Inhale, finding lift. Exhale, melting into that fold. Last one, inhale, making space. Exhale, folding. Inhale, start to come back up to center. Draw the knees in, and we'll bring the feet slightly further than hip width apart, soles of the feet placed on the mat. And you can bring the hands out behind to support you here if you need to, or you could bring your hands to heart center. And drop both knees over to the right. So both legs, we're working towards them being in a roughly 90-degree angle, both of them. No worries if you can't bring your legs into this exact position, and use support if you need to fill in any gaps. inhale here, and on your exhale, we're going to fold over this right thigh. And again, this could be really subtle movement. Doesn't have to be a really deep fold, really getting that stretch into the outside of that right leg, into the hip. Inhale, lift the chest. Either use the hands to support or bring them back in. Float your way over to the opposite side. Exhale, fold over that left thigh. Inhale, lift the chest, come back up once more on each side. So rolling over to the right, taking the fold. And rolling over to the left, taking the fold. Maybe you've moved or shuffled completely off your mat, as I have. So come back to center and then come into your tabletop position. And from tabletop position, lengthen that left leg out to the side, so opening into the left hip space. Exhale, walk the hands out in front and melt the heart down to the mat, finding your extended puppy pose. Breathing here. Inhale, draw the belly in, walk the hands back into center, and just see here if you can bring this leg in with control. So seeing if you can hover that left foot away from the mat, bend the leg, draw it back in. Yeah, feeling that in the hips, the glutes, the inside of that leg. Coming on to the other side, reach the right foot out. Notice how this feels. You could always work here if this feels enough for you. Exhale, option to walk the hands out in front and melt the heart down towards the mat. So keep letting that heart melt down, reconnect with your breath. So really using the breath and our awareness to really experience our body in this moment right now. Fully experience what is alive within the body. Listening. Inhale, start to walk the hands back in. And again, seeing if you can lift that right foot away from the mat and bend the right leg, draw it back into center. Well done. Tuck the toes under, exhale, float the hips to the sky, downward facing dog. You can take a little pedal out here through the feet. Maybe finding a little bit more of a stretch into the backs of the legs or into that hip space area. And then coming to stillness in your downward facing dog. And again, if this feels too much at any time, remember that child's pose is always there for you. Listen to your body, take what you need from this class. So we're going to bend in this right leg. And then see if you can take some circles with the right leg moving into the right hip space. So imagine with that knee that you're maybe drawing a circle. And see if you can come back in the opposite direction as well. This is a lot harder than it looks. Take it nice and slow. Nice. Last one. Bring the right leg down to the mat. Take it onto the left side. So bend in this left knee. Start to take a circular movement, and again, don't worry about how it looks. It might look a little bit different to me. That's okay. Just focus on how the movement feels, drawing that circle, coming back in the opposite direction as well, making the circle smaller or bigger. Keep breathing. and float the left foot back down to the mat. Well done. Inhale, send your gaze between the hands, step or walk the feet in. Lift the chest, lengthen the spine, find a halfway lift. Fingertips could be reaching the mat, or they could be on the shins or the thighs. Exhale, fold forwards, bend the legs as much as you need to. Inhale, sweep the fingertips up, lift your heart away from your tailbone. Exhale, hands come through to heart center and Jali Mudra. From here, inhale, sweep the fingertips back up to the ceiling. Lift the ribs away from your hips. Exhale, fold forwards, hinge from the hips, coming into our Surya Namaskar A, Sun Salutation A. Inhale, lift the chest, lengthen the spine. Exhale, float the hands down to the mat, step or jump the feet back to plank. Flow through your version of Chaturanga. So you're either going to inhale and come into a cobra, which would mean that you've got the legs still connected to the mat, or an upward facing dog with the legs lifting away. Exhale, lift the hips to the sky, downward facing dog. Breathing here. Inhale, send the gaze between the hands. Step or walk the feet in. Lift the chest, lengthen the spine. Exhale, forward fold. Bend the legs as much as you need to. Inhale, sweep the fingertips up, lifting that heart away from the ground. Exhale, hands come through to heart center. Bend in your left knee and take your right hand to the left shin. So hugging this left knee in. Inhale, sweep the left fingertips up. And see if you can sweep that arm over into a twist here. Sending your gaze over the left fingertips. No worries if you're wobbling and shaking or if you need to use a wall to support you. So then from here, start to inhale, sweep this left arm up and over, release the left leg, float the left leg back. Can you find a warrior three? You could always have your hands on blocks for your warrior three, or just reduce the range of movement, pressing through the heel of the left foot, breathing here. And then from here, you're going to take your right hand either to a block or to the mat and see if you can open out into your half moon. So left fingertips reaching up to the ceiling. Maybe you're following with your gaze. So opening that left hip. Now take a really big step back so that we're in a warrior two position. Right legs bent, left legs lengthened. Flip the palms up to face the ceiling. Inhale, float the warrior, reaching up to the sky, lengthen both legs. Exhale, bend through that right leg, sink back down to warrior two. Inhale, lifting and lengthening. Exhale, sinking back down, sinking down into the right leg. Inhale, reaching back up. Exhale, floating back down. Inhale, reaching up. Last one. Exhale, floating back down to your warrior two. Sink down a little bit lower into the right leg. Tuck the tailbone in. And then pivoting so that you're in a wide leg stance, toes pointing out. Exhale, bend through that right leg. So we're in a right side Skandasana. So you could either be working up here, for example, in Skandasana. Maybe you're coming lower down for Skandasana. Just see what feels good in your body. This is not going to work for everyone to be this low, and that's okay. It's strong on the knee and the ankle joint, so just be careful of that. Now floating over, using your hands if you need to, onto left side Skandasana. So you could be working here, maybe you're working a little bit lower down. Again, take what feels good to you. Keep the space across your chest. And releasing from your Skandasana, float the arms around to frame the front foot, step it back to plank, flow through your Vinyasa. So inhaling into an upward facing dog or cobra, and exhale back to downward facing dog. Take a moment here to breathe, to connect with your breath. Taking a child's pose if you need to. We'll inhale, send the gaze between the hands, step or walk the feet in, lift the chest, lengthen the spine, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, sweep the fingertips up, lift your ribs away from your hips. Exhale, hands float through to heart center. Now we come on to the other side. So left leg's the standing leg. Bend in this right knee. Left hand comes to the right shin. Inhale, sweep the right arm up and over. Find a twist. See if you can send your gaze over the right fingertips. Just breathing into any wobbles and shakes. You can always come in and out or use a wall to support you here. Inhale, float the right arm up and over. Release the right leg. Can you transition into a warrior three? Use blocks if you need to, or you can stay up higher in your warrior three. Press back through the heel of the right foot. Breathing here. And then starting to float your left hand down to either the mat or a block. Find your half moon pose. And again, you can use the wall to support you. So you could be in close to the wall to try and give you that support if you're working with this shape or you're quite new to this balance, your Ardha Chandrasana. Well done. So seeing if you can take a really big step back to warrior two. No worries if you're adding in little steps here. Whenever you're doing a practice with me, if you're adding in little steps, make it your practice, then that is absolutely what I want you to be doing. So just remembering that everyone's body's different, our body feels different on different days, and we need different things, and that's okay. I'm guiding you, but it is your practice ultimately, it's your journey. So from your warrior two, inhale, float the warrior. So reach the arms up, lengthen the left leg. Exhale, sink back down. Inhale, lifting up. Exhale, sinking back down. Inhale, imagine drawing energy up with the hands. Exhale, grounding that energy back down. Inhale, lifting. Exhale, floating down. And pausing here, tuck the tailbone in. Relax the shoulders. Open out to your wide leg stance. Hands come to heart center, toes pointing towards the corners of the mat. Sink down into this left leg. Find left side Skandasana. Could be working here. Could be somewhere in between or a little bit lower. Keep that space across the chest. Really moving into that hip space today. Svadhisthana, second chakra. It's all about our connection to our emotions, our creativity, our joy. And then moving over into right side Skandasana. And again, using your hands to transition if you need to. And releasing from your right side. Float the hands around to frame that front foot. Step it back to plank. flow through your chaturanga. So inhale, upward facing dog or cobra. And exhale back to your downward facing dog. And breathe. Take a little bit of movement here that feels good for you. And then on your next inhale, we're going to draw this right knee to the outside of the right wrist. Bring the shin down and we're going to slide the left leg back, so coming into our pigeon pose. Now for pigeon, you could have blocks or a bolster filling in any space between you and the ground that you might have here. Or you can take a lying pigeon position if this version of pigeon isn't for you. You've always got the lying pigeon option, which is lying on your back and hooking that right leg instead, and then interlacing the hands behind the back of the left thigh. So you can always take that one if you need to. So we want hips shining forwards, and then when you're ready, walk the hands out in front, folding over the right leg. So just noticing how this hip area is feeling today. Notice if there's any resistance to the pose, whether you can observe any resistance in your practice, or maybe observing any movements that are feeling really good for you today. Just coming from a place of awareness, acceptance, non-judgment. Inhale, coming away from the fold. Tuck the back toes under, lift your right leg, and then see if you can bring your right foot to the outside of the hand, so stepping it through, so in this lizard position. Then drop your back knee down and start to take a little bit of gentle movement here in your lizard. Option to come down onto the forearms if that's in your practice. That won't work for everyone, so just stay true to what you need. Option to bring this right hand to the right thigh, send the gaze up to the ceiling. Well done, bringing both hands back down to the mat. We'll sweep this right leg back to tabletop, tuck the toes under, exhale, downward facing dog. Lift the hips away from the ribs. Then inhale, coming onto left side, so left knee comes to the outside of the left wrist. And traditionally, we would cue for pigeon that this ankle's coming towards the right wrist, then you're sliding this left leg back. But actually, if this leg needs to be more bent in, then that is absolutely okay. Do what feels right with your knee joint. Hips are shining forwards, taking recline pigeon instead if you need to, and then folding over that front leg down into your pigeon. Just allowing that stretch into the left hip space. Maybe the left hip feels a little bit different from the right. So taking 2 more deep breaths here, seeing if you can find comfort within any discomfort. And then we inhale, walk the hands back in, tuck under the back toes, press the hands into the mat, lift the leg, and can you bring that left foot to the outside of the hand? So in our lizard position, you can drop the back knee now. Start to take a little bit of gentle movement here. Maybe coming down onto the forearms if that feels good too, just an option. Option to bring the left hand to the left thigh and start to look up towards the ceiling. Then bringing both hands down to the mat, sweep the left leg back so that you're in tabletop position, and we'll exhale, sit the hips down towards the heels, try and come into a narrow leg child's pose here, and exhale the heart and the forehead down to the mat. Close the eyes if that feels natural for you, and just allow the body to soften. Allow the hips to relax and sink down towards the heels. Breathe into the back of the body, the sides. And just seeing if you can feel if your energy has shifted at all since the beginning of the practice. You often have a lot of emotions stored within the hip area. So just honouring anything that comes up here, any feelings, any thoughts, anything physically. And allowing it to just be and pass through. We're not trying to change anything. On your next inhale, open the eyes back up. Just start to walk the hands back in, coming away from your child's pose. As always, if you have longer to come into a guided meditation or shavasana, I would highly recommend that you do so. Such an important part of this practice, or just staying in your child's pose for longer and working there. Thank you so much for being here and joining me. There's lots of other all levels practices on this channel. So if you really enjoyed this flow, do check that out. We also have a couple of series on here, like 30 days of yoga and mindful mornings, where we look at a bit more yoga philosophy as we flow through. So looking at the yamas and niyamas. So if that's of interest, do check that out. That's on this channel as well. But please do like, share, comment, subscribe to this channel. It's completely free. I really appreciate all your support as always. Thank you so, so much. And I can't wait to hopefully flow with you again really soon. Bye bye.